Hello, my name's Maria, and you're watching the Richardson Simple Living. Today, I'm coming on with just a short vlog just to tell you a story. Well, it's a true story about one of my experiences. It would have been an experience that would have come up during all of the questions and chatty vlogs we're having on a Friday. At some point, I would have come across it and spoken about it. But I think this week is apt to talk about it. I thought I'd talk about it today anyway. It started my exciting story. I don't know, well, exciting might not be exciting to all of you, but to me, alongside having children, it was probably one of the greatest things that I've ever done, and something that I wouldn't be able to do very often. But it began on the 2nd of June 1982 when a plane touched down in Cardiff. The person alighted, he stood on Welsh soil, got to his knees and kissed the soil. It was Pope John Paul II's first visit and only visit to Wales, and I was there. So that's the story. Yeah, and I thought it would be just nice to talk about this week, as this week obviously has been the passing of the latest Pope, so there'll be another one again before much longer. But I thought, well, given that, my story somehow seemed fitting to tell this week rather than wait till weeks on end. I thought, we'll talk about it today, my experience and how it came about, really. So, yeah, the Pope visited Britain, Pope John Paul II, and it was on the 2nd of June in 1982 when he came to Wales. And I was at the Pontcarna Fields where he gave mass there. How it came about was I was staying with my gran and aunt in Llanelli, and we always go to the Catholic Church on the Sundays. We always attended church on the Sundays. I went with my aunt, and they were talking about the papal visit and everything. And they'd got like coach tours. The churches had all got coaches going, and the parishioners, as you'd call them, I don't know, but the people who went to church could go to book on these coaches and go to see the Pope. And this was in the Pontcarna Fields in Cardiff. So anyway, we'd gone to the church one of the Sundays. I don't know how long I was there for. I was 19 at the time, and never thought to say. At the time, I was 19 years old, and I'm not sure why I was in my grand's, and at that time I was on my own. I wasn't with any other family members, not my family members that lived away anyway. So I must have been gone for a holiday or gone for a couple of weeks. I was often there anyway when I could be, but I was 19, so I would have been working then. So I must have taken myself off for a holiday because I wasn't with my parents, nothing like that. So I'd been there for a bit because I was there long enough to have been going to the church on the Sunday and to have heard all about the papal visit and the trips they were having. And I'd said to my auntie one night, I said, I want to go and see the Pope. And I'd like to see the Pope. I'd like to go to Mass with the Pope, because that's what he was doing in the Pontcarna Fields. He was performing Mass, and he was giving communion to some children as well. And I said, I want to go and I want to see the Pope. So as soon as I said it, my auntie got it arranged. She's on the phone to the father, and we were on the coach. We were booked on the coach. So yeah, anyway, like I said, I must have been there a while for all this to have happened in between. I can't remember how long I was there, but the night before, I was so excited. Oh my goodness. I was so excited that I was going on this coach and I was going to see the Pope, the actual Pope, not on the television, but I was going to go and see him in person. And I mean, that's quite an experience, because how many people get to do that, you know? The Pope doesn't come to Britain very often. You don't get a Pope in Britain very often. It's very rare to get a papal visit. And although I have been to Vatican City since this event, I mean, I never saw the Pope there, but I have been to Vatican City. But yeah, it was quite something. So I was so excited. I remember feeling really excited, and I got myself so excited and so worked up. I was sick. All night long, I was sick. I was awake all night because I couldn't stop being sick. So anyway, my auntie was thinking, oh, you're not going to be able to go if you're sick. You can't go if you're sick. Thinking, that I'd perhaps got a bug or something. And no, it was because I was so excited about going to see the Pope. And yeah, so it was touch and go where to go. But yes, I'm going to see the Pope. If I'm sick, I'm going to see the Pope. Nothing's going to stop me. I'm booked on this coach now, and we're going to see the Pope. So yeah, got up really early next morning. I remember we had to get up really early. I'm not sure if it was still dark when we was waiting for the coach, but we got up early and we walked down to the road. I said, I'm all right. I must have stopped being sick at some point, and I said, I'm all right, then we're going on this coach. I want to go and see the Pope. So anyway, we're waiting for the bus, and the bus pulls up. So gets on the bus. So there's the father, and there's all these nuns and the parishioners, and my auntie, me, and my sick bag. And off we go to Cardiff. So down the M4, I'm not sure how long a run it would be, an hour and a half. Up to 2, I'm not really sure because we don't go that way anymore. So I've not been along that road for many years. We go a different route round now when we go. But yeah, so we were on this coach for a while, and it was rammed when we got there to the Pontcarna Fields, and there was loads of I have never seen so many people. I think it was reported there was over 100,000 people there. And I have never seen so many nuns in all of my life. And I've seen a fair few, but I have never seen so many nuns all in one place in all my life. And it was so full of nuns and people and, all kinds of religious denominations were there, not just Catholics. There was other denomination people there. There was all kinds of people. All there to see the Pope, all ages as well, really elderly ones, people in wheelchairs and everything, from babies upwards. There was all ages, and there was so many people. I've never ever seen so many people in one place. But yeah, then the Pope, it seemed like forever, but the Pope came, and so he's like waiting for ages, but the Pope came and he did Mass, and he spoke in Welsh and he spoke in Latin and in English. And I remember just sitting there listening to, I couldn't understand the Latin and very little Welsh. I only understand odd words, I couldn't understand a whole sentence, but, he said it all in English as well. So you knew what was being said, and it was just amazing, really. It was just so amazing being there, and all these religious figures were around him, and he was talking, and you could hear him through microphones, but you felt like you were close, even though you weren't all that close. I was a bit of a way off from him. But I remember being in the fields and sitting in the fields. It got hotter. The weather got really hot, and I remember feeling really hot. And my auntie worried I was going to be sick again, and kept asking if I was all right, and I was all right. But I remember it feeling really hot. I was sat on grass and listening to the Pope, and it was a really good experience. And I remember when it finished, then when the Pope was leaving in his Pope mobile, it was like all barriers alongside. Everybody went to the sides to watch. I remember my auntie pushing me forward to the front to go and see, and I was right at the front of the barriers. I was right at the very front. I'd have been close enough to have just stepped over and touched him. I got so close, and any closer I'd have been run over by the Pope mobile. Yeah, I was right at the front. And I remember coming up and coming past in this Pope mobile, and I looked at him as he was looking across at the cars, and I looked at him, and I remember thinking how small he was, because for some reason when he was up on that stage, and when you see him on television, he seemed such a big man, such a huge figure. And he come past, and he was so small and frail, really frail. He could have been like anybody's granddad or something like that, a really small, frail man. and just so normal and down to earth. I don't know what I thought I was expecting, but it just so normal, just so like myself, just he was just small. It just struck me how small he actually was, and a petite of a frame. He wasn't a big man at all. In fact, he looked quite lost in his Pope mobile. I must have had something for him to stand on in there to make him look a bit tall so we could see and everything, but he was a very small man. I remember thinking he just looked such a frail type of figure. Not that he was ill or anything like that, but just small, just wasn't what I was expecting at all. And sort of like a humble sort of a man, and just like any one of us. And that struck me, that did. And I thought, that's, you could relate to it. I thought that's relatable. So, yeah, you'd have had to have seen it to sort of really understand what I mean. Well, it did strike me. But anyway, after he went and that, there was souvenir things. You could buy souvenirs, which looking back now, I mean, I'm a person, I don't believe in buying like religious souvenirs and things like that. Anything that is images of above, I don't buy images or anything like that. And I most certainly wouldn't go into a church and buy anything inside of a church. I wouldn't exchange money in a church, nothing like that. Church hall, yeah, but not inside of a religious building. I wouldn't do that, no matter what the denomination, I wouldn't do it. But yeah, they got all these stalls. I mean, it was in a field anyway, so it wasn't sort of in a religious place then. But it was all fields and there was all sorts. And I did buy something, but I bought it for my mum. And I bought this spoon with John Paul II's face on it and writing and the date on it. And I remember buying that. I thought I'll get that for my mum. And I bought it for my mum. I felt bad then afterwards because I thought, I bought something that's like religious, and then on the other side of me was saying, well, it's not representing anything in heaven, it's just a person. And I'm thinking, oh, well, isn't that a bit of idolatry? I remember 19 years old heading back on this coach to sit back on the coach to go back, and I remember having this war in my head about having bought this spoon. Anyway, I sat down on the coach waiting for everybody, because you couldn't just pull off and go. You had to wait for everybody to move, and it was very busy. And it went black everywhere. Went really black, and this streak of lightning shot across the sky, and all I could think about was, oh no, it's because I bought the spoon. And then this big clap of thunder, and it was pouring with rain. It rained. It had been raining, but it had been really hot, and it did start to rain. But then this thunderstorm broke out as we were getting on the coach. And because it was the afternoon then, because I think the Pope went on to a stadium somewhere then to do something else. We were in the morning, the mass was in the morning. But I do remember, that's the biggest thing that stands out in my memory, this big streak of lightning, looking for the bus window, this big streak of lightning, everywhere went really dark and black, and this big streak of lightning and a massive roar of thunder. And I was thinking, it's because I bought this spoon, and it's because all those religious type things are being sold, and that's wrong. I do remember that. I do remember thinking I shouldn't have done that. And I've never ever done anything like it since. But yeah, I do remember that, and that bit stood out as well. I mean, it was a thunderstorm. There was a big storm because it'd been so hot, you see, and the weather was just breaking down. But the timing, it was, it just really struck me. Luckily, not literally. But yeah, I do remember that just as much as the rest of it. But yeah, that was my experience. I went to Mass with Pope John Paul II in the Pontcarna Fields in Cardiff on the 2nd of June 1982 when I was just 19 years old. And that is one experience that perhaps might not be able to, well, so won't be able to top. Obviously, having your children is the best experience in the world, giving birth to life. But yeah, that was one of the experiences, one of my top experiences. and I'd have probably mentioned this with, on the Chatty Fridays when we'd got to a subject that might have been close to it, I'd have probably mentioned it. But I thought I would just do a vlog about it on its own today because it seemed apt, because obviously we've just lost another Pope. So I just thought, well, that's just a nice story that I could tell you about my experience with the Pope. Not that I spoke to him or anything, but it's a shame. It might have been nice to have done, but I bet everybody thought that. But yeah, just a normal man. He was just a normal man. So that was just nice to see, really. Just nice to see, because it was relatable when it became relatable to you. So yeah, like I say, I did go years later when me, Dean, and my twins, when they were young, we did go to Vatican City. When we were in Italy, we went to Vatican City. That was quite a nice place, but it's anything like, it's got all the big statues, very Romanized. It is very Romanized, and you can see how it came from, like, a Roman religion more than anything. It's very Romanized. It's all these big statues, columns and statues, and like St. Peter and all the different ones. And yeah, it was very Romanized. But it was nice. But again, it's a very busy place, and you have to queue for hours to go into the Sistine Chapel. And I didn't bother going in the end, because it was just hours queuing, and we were on an itinerary anyway, so we were going on other places in Rome. So I didn't bother going in there. I didn't bother queuing. I just had a look around everywhere, taking in the sights, really, because well, so it's once in a lifetime. I mean, Italy's not that far away, but may go again in my lifetime, I don't know. But nowadays I suffer anxiety, and the travelling I used to do, and the things I used to do, I don't think I could do now. I couldn't do it at all. Sometimes I just can't even go down the road now. I had to go and have my bloods taken today, and I had a massive attack of anxiety out of the blue, and Dean had to come to the doctors with me, and now he never does that. He never has to do that, but anxiety just comes like that. So, and now I've been left with an overwhelming headache, and I think that's from the anxiety. So yeah, whether I will ever go to Rome again, I don't know. Whether I'll ever see another Pope again, who knows? If one comes to Britain and I go, I don't think I could do all the crowds now. I mean, then the crowds were huge, really huge. I mean, I didn't know at the time how many people were there, but I did read later on that there was over 100,000 people at the Pancana Field. And I think, wow, all I remember is loads of people. And buses, the amount of buses, the coaches as well, that really sort of had me in awe, because I've never seen so many before. I've been to lots of train stations and bus stations and things in my life, but I've never seen so many as I saw there. So yeah. And that was a really good experience, that was. And you forget about these experiences sometimes. You push them to the back of your mind, and then it takes something to bring them forward. And thought, oh yeah, I did that. And then when I start talking about things, people say, but I thought you never really did anything much. And it's because they're all gone to the back of my mind, and I forget about them all. And life just goes on. But yeah, I went to Mass with the Pope. So it was quite nice. And he seemed a really nice man too. So that's that. I just thought I would tell you that story today, because, like I say, it seemed apt to sort of say that on its own at this time. So that's that for now, my experience. Drop in the comments, have you ever seen the Pope, or have you had a really outstanding experience, one that you think, well, it's up there at the top amongst all your experiences. It's sort of right at the top. If you had something fantastic, let me know in the comments down below. So until, I'm hoping tomorrow now I'll be back. I'm hoping to go to Aldi tomorrow. I don't know for sure, but I'm hoping it'll be tomorrow. If it's not tomorrow, it'll be Friday, and we might have to rearrange tea and chat. But I'll let you know in the community tab on my page whether I've had to swap it around or not. But otherwise, I'm hoping that tomorrow we'll be shopping, because I need some food. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And until hopefully tomorrow, Take care. Bye.